Aditya, am I audible? Okay, thank you for the confirmation. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel of IEEE Student Branch Chapter of Netaji Subhash Engineering College. My name is Hoymanti Datta and I am from the Computer Society and the Department of Computer Science and Engineering first year. I would like to warmly welcome you all to the first day of a series of talks focusing on the theme of Machine Learning Connect, Industry and Academia. This event is organized by IEEE Computer Society Student Branch Chapter in association with IEEE Computational Intelligence Society Student Branch Chapter of Netaji Subhash Engineering College. Today, we have with us Chairperson of Computer Chapter IEEE Kolkata Section, Dr. Subhadip Basu. He is a full professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Jadavpur University. Dr. Subhadip Basu received his PhD degree in engineering from Jadavpur University in 2006. His postdoctoral researches from the University of Iowa, USA in 2010 and from the University of Warsaw, Poland in 2012. He has more than 200 research publications in notable international journals and conference proceedings in the areas of pattern recognition, machine learning, bioinformatics, biomedical image analysis, etc. He has edited 8 books and has 2 US patents on image binarization methods. Dr. Basu has worked in reputed international institutes like Hitachi Central Research Laboratory, Japan, University of Iowa, USA, Bournemouth University, UK, University of Lorraine, France, University of Warsaw, Institute of Experimental Biology, Poland, and Hanover Medical School, Germany. Among his numerous accolades includes the prestigious Research Award from UGC. He has also received Boys Cast and Fast Track Fellowships from GST, Government of India, the DAAD Fellowship from Germany, HIVAP Fellowship from Hitachi, Japan, Emma and Kling Fellowships from the European Union. So without further ado, please welcome Professor Subhadip Basu. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, and thank you, Haimanti, for your kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this event. Okay, so.
Okay, sir. So without further ado, the screen is all yours, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much, and thank you all who are listening to this presentation. And today we'll be in the first part of this presentation. I'll be discussing more about some machine learning, pattern recognition, image processing, and especially as the theme of this series is like some connecting to real applications in industry and all. So I discuss more about the application side of it, and maybe some current research trends. And being a part of IEEE fraternity, and also since this is an IEEE event, in the latter part, I'll discuss more about like why IEEE and why we are doing all this under this IEEE banner. So with this, let us move to the specific presentation. And as you can see, the topic of this lecture is machine learning in pattern recognition and image processing applications, current research trends. So I'll start with a very common question, and that leads to several other interesting, interesting connected questions. That what is pattern recognition? And if you go through the textbook, like the most authentic textbook in pattern recognition by Duda Hart, it says that the assignment of a physical object or event to one of the several pre-specified categories is what pattern recognition is all about in just one sentence. I like this definition in many aspects, and it connects to many real life applications. And if you look at this definition carefully, you'll see that uh, there are questions about pre-specified categories. That means you need to have some idea about where you want to assign the objects or events to. So you need to define some classes, like pre-specified classes, and then you assign those objects or patterns into those classes. So you can do that by drawing some boundaries. Like for example, here you can draw a linear boundary, a non-linear boundary, and say for example some square patterns, some rounds patterns, some triangular patterns as shown in the below figure. They can be classified into different classes. So many questions come into our mind, like what is a pattern then? What is a pattern class? What do you mean by recognition and classification? So we can just say like pattern is an object, process, or event that can be given any name. For example, here these are say for example digit patterns. So if you write some shape like round shape, so it can be termed as 0. If you write some shape like this, so you can name it as 3. Maybe that particular shape in some different language can be something different. So it all depends on the context. So how you want to name a particular pattern. So a pattern is an object or a process or an event that can be given a specific name. For example, is digit 0, digit 1. So a pattern class or category is a set of patterns sharing common attributes or and usually originating from the same source. So you write like handwriting recognition is considered as one of the classical problems in pattern recognition, image processing, and machine learning. So say you write one in many different ways, and you can group all the patterns belonging to the class 1, and that forms a pattern class. So patterns sharing common attributes and usually originating from the same source, so that can be given as a name as a pattern class. And during recognition or classification, we try to assign an unknown pattern to one of the pre-specified classes. So that is the basic problem. So when you start learning, say, a new script, for example, if you suddenly start learning, say, a different script, maybe I'm not much familiar with Odia. So if I start learning Odia, then I can learn, and then I go to a exam, and I try to assign like that. That will be a question. What is this? And you must be able to say, okay, this is the digit, this digit that, and so on. So in our mind, our training is so good that even if you write English numerals like in any style, we get to recognize them very quickly. But think about your very young child somewhere, and maybe your younger brother, sister who is learning a new script, and they may still struggle. Like my daughter is in class 7 and 8, and she is learning Hindi script, so it is a struggle time for her. So we try to recognize or classify given objects and try to assign them to pre-prescribed classes. A classifier is a machine that performs the classification. So in our brain, we process that so seamlessly, and we train our brain over, say, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and then all those digits and shapes, they get registered, and we also register the faces, register different events, and we classify them seamlessly. And using computer science, using computer algorithms, we also try to replicate that using different machine learning algorithms. So vision plays a huge role in many of these pattern recognition applications. So although it may or may not be an image, it can also be some bioinformatics patterns, it can be a share data or something, it can be any different pattern, may or may not be an image. But in many cases, we often play with image patterns. So digital image processing plays an important role, and it involves computer algorithms that to perform image processing task on digital images. See this particular example here. I have some a slightly detailed slide on this particular image. So this is the image of finger veins, not the fingerprints. The vein patterns that is underlying the skin of fingers, and if you use some near infrared imaging with infrared flash, you can actually capture those vein patterns. So you can see the top left image is a bit blurry, and it is very difficult to work with such images or such blurry images, but its quality can be improved with application of several computer algorithms. Different types of algorithms can be applied one after another so that you get improved image, and with that you can probably perform additional pattern recognition tasks. So image processing plays an integrated role with pattern analysis. Okay, and what is machine learning? Is, as you can see, this is an interesting image, and you can see that you need some training data where, like I was telling you, for 5, 10, 15 years, we are training our human brain with different types of shapes. Like I can seamlessly read Bengali script, I can seamlessly read English script. I am not so fluent in reading Hindi fluent script because I didn't learn it for so many years. My training data is not sufficient. I can still struggle and make some mistakes, and I somehow can read and write, but I'm not as good as like English and Bengali. So there are certain learning algorithms that gets trained with the basis of training data, and then see the same learning algorithm generates a black box, which is a trained machine. So once I get labeled samples, that okay, this is O, this is A, or this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2, and then those labeled samples get registered in my mind or registered in the trained machine, and when the trained machine is ready, it is put to a test. It is given to a test, and you ask questions. Then you go to a exam hall and some shapes are shown, and you should be able to recognize that shape and give it to the perfect label based on the training that you have already received. So a trained machine receives a query and generates an answer. So this is what machine learning is all about. So it is based on 3 different components. So one is training data, learning algorithms, and once you have the trained machine, you are working with a query or the test data and generate some answer. So there are several machine learning basics. So I'll not cover those basics. There are better slides everywhere in the internet. If you want to know more about machine learning, you can always go through and study the subject in great details. But in general, what is machine learning? Machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that improve automatically through experience and by the use of data and the patterns, if you remember the last slide. So it is machine learning is all about training and improving its knowledge so that you prepare a better trained machine. How you prepare the trained machine, whether it is learning continuously or how is it learning, everything depends on the next point, that is the machine learning algorithms that actually build a predictive model based on the sample data, often known as the training data. So you work with different types of machine learning algorithms, not a single learning algorithm. There are numerous different learning algorithms. The styles are different, the objectives are different. In order to make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed to do so, these last wordings are extremely important in machine learning, and that differentiates it from database applications. It is not a query driven application search, and if you get an exact match, template matching, and then retrieve the result. No, it is not a database query. So even if you train the machine or train yourself like as a human machine, human brain with hundreds of different types of handwritten patterns, you may still struggle, and there is no guarantee that the next time you will find someone's handwriting in the answer script of our students. So you will find, what is this, what is written in this answer script? So you struggle, your brain cells get they struggle to understand what is written in the script. So you make a prediction or a decision without being explicitly programmed to do so. I have not seen those scripts before, those style of handwritings before, but based on my prior knowledge, I try to make a decision that I am able to do so because I rely on machine learning algorithms and not exact template matching. If I would have used simple template matching, I would have just retrieved only those things that I have seen before. But machine learning is slightly different from that. And as I was already talking about character recognition problems, so there are numerous interesting machine learning problems, and you see that machine learning is more or less like a buzzword these days. AI, machine learning, pattern recognition, people say so many times, and you will see so many interesting applications coming up. But if you think about the classical applications like character recognition, face recognition, and there are many different computer vision and even biomedical image analysis applications that extensively use machine learning. Okay, so machine learning applications are diverse, and you actually use different machine learning algorithms to perform or to solve uh, certain tasks. But as you see that there are many, why there are so many different machine learning algorithms, so many different domains? Because data holds the key. Not a single application is same to each other. The applications are all different, and that is the key to machine learning. If you want to play with machine learning, you need to understand the domain. So data holds the key. What is there? Are you working with optical character recognitions where you have hundreds and thousands of training samples and then you test with only 10-20 samples? For example, if you means I'm giving character recognition examples repeatedly because it's easier to communicate, because we are all Indians. Many of us are, I hope all of us, many of us are from West Bengal, and we are familiar with Indic scripts like be it Bengali or Hindi. We have Juktakhors, and you can see that unlike English or Roman script, you have 200 plus different classes. That too, when you add the other like modifiers, vowel modifiers, then the number of possibilities, character shape variations exceed 1,000. And if you want to train your system with so many variabilities, Then you need to train the system with, say, 300, 400. Like if we built a system where we trained the system with 500, 600 different samples to test how many characters. Our test bed was for, say, some Bengali form document. Okay, you write something in a form, maybe 20, 30, 50 characters are in the test. So to test those 50 characters, you train with 500,000 samples. Take a completely different situation, say in biomedical. Think about, say, protein-protein interaction or protein sequences. In bioinformatics, usually the training samples are extremely expensive and difficult to produce, because biomedical experiments involve wet labs and all the different chemicals, and many different constraints come into play. So number of training samples are usually very, very, very low, whereas number of unknowns are huge. In, say, proteins, means in the proteomic sequences, genomic sequences, there are a lot of unknowns, but the known samples are really low. So the algorithm that you apply in biomedical may be completely different from OCR, optical character recognition, or maybe from market analysis, or maybe computer vision, or maybe text categorization. So it depends on your domain, and the data holds the key. What is the volume of the data? What is the variety, velocity, veracity? So all these different aspects play a huge role in machine learning. And then data science is another buzzword these days, data analytics, data science. So in general, like, we need to connect, like, what is the intent of the data? What is the intent of the data, and how do you make a decision rooted in the business context? See the last point. The insight from data are used to recommend action or to guide decision making rooted in business context. So actually, machine learning combined with data science and analytics, they play a very interesting role these days, because we are able to take interesting business decisions. Okay, so decision making rooted in business context is extremely valuable. So in this particular lecture, I'll rather cover more on different types of applications. There are many different types of applications. I'll quickly browse through different applications, especially in text analytics, different types of printed text, optical character recognition is possible, handwritten character recognition is possible. Then you can go for recognition of alphanumeric characters from pre-formatted form documents. What do you mean by that? I'll show you briefly. Then recognition and retrieval of handwritten textual annotations. So you can still, like, make some scribbles, maybe on your phone, or maybe on many different devices, and then can we still recognize that? Then there are also many handheld camera-based business card readers and many different card readers. Like, one of my very favorite, like, when you go abroad, one of the most handy application these days is like Google Live Translate. Okay, so if I go to a grocery shop, all the text that is written in, say, French or maybe in German. So I use my smartphone and just keep the camera focused on the text written on a particular product, and okay, I know that this is the pack of sugar, or maybe this is rice, or this is maybe this vegetable or that vegetable or something like that. Otherwise, it makes life extremely difficult. Forget about like going to Japan or maybe some CJK countries like China. CJK is Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. So there you have absolutely no support for English language and all. So unless you have some these days, unless you have some really good OCR system to guide you, it is often extremely difficult. But these are the business applications. You connect the real application with text analytics. Okay. Then you can also think about video analytics development of, see, I'll discuss some applications like I'll just show you some applications where we are active in. There are numerous other applications. Okay, like I'll show you some sample screens from our application for automated vehicle license plate recognition system. Vehicle license plate recognition, you actually mount a camera on the roadside and track the vehicles and detect the number plate and then detect the violation. Or maybe real-time tracking of human activities. As I showed the image, that is finger vein biometrics, not fingerprint biometric. Fingerprint is much common, maybe in different attendance systems and all. These days, fingerprint biometric is very common. But for high security applications, fingerprint is not enough. You need to have more secure live biometric, just like your retina, scan of your retina, and there are many different live biometrics. Why I talked about retinal scan, because in Aadhaar you have seen that we have our retinal vein patterns scanned. So that is also important. But finger vein is very easy to capture in terms of retinal scan. In Japan, as I mentioned, most of the high value transactions must be validated through finger vein biometric. Okay, so in all the ATMs they are equipped with finger vein biometrics. Now, there are also several bioimaging applications, some segmentation of dendritic spines from two-dimensional, three-dimensional confocal microscopic images. There are also like fuzzy object segmentation for bone vasculature, like segmentation and artificial. I'll show you some quick snapshots if I get time. But in general, what do you mean by OCR, optical character recognition? It says that, okay, this is a practical image, a practical application. Just yesterday, last night, I was working with my daughter and she showed me a screenshot. She was supposed to submit a project report to someone, and her friend sent her the snapshot or mobile screenshot of the writing instead of the edited text. So what to do? You have got an image of the text, printed text, but not the typed text. So what you do? I used some online OCR engine. I just uploaded the image in an online OCR engine and it transferred, it took the input as an image and it converted the image, read the text to certain accuracy and converted into a Word document, MS Word document that is editable. So instead of typing the whole text from the image, you actually correct some of the errors in the OCR system. That is what OCR is all about. So if you see this particular image, this is not editable, this is an image, and you apply OCR and you get an editable text which is actually editable, and you can change the text. So this is the difference between an JPEG image and a Word document corresponding to that JPEG image of the text. But how to do that? Even if it is a printed text, it is extremely challenging. Extremely challenging. The text that I uploaded last night, it was fairly simple. It was just a screenshot of probably the laptop page or Word document, and it was very clear and clean, but still there were some 30% errors in that document. Okay. So there are several key challenges even in a printed document. First task is binarization. Do you see that foreground, that is the text, and the background? So this is the problem with any machine vision, any pattern recognition application. So you have to see what is the data, what is your input data, what type of adaptive thresholding you are applying, whether how you segment the content. So spaces between words are tricky. Sometimes you have less spacing, more spacing, some text is bold, some text is italics, and so on. Sometimes you scan it in a different orientation, so there are baseline changes. So even for printed text, it is difficult. Forget about handwriting. So in handwriting, there are much more problems. Still, there are hardly any application, even for handwritten English text, that you write some text and it will be automatically converted into from an image to an editable Word document with 90% accuracy. No, it is not there. Yes, some documents can be converted if it is very clearly written, it is block structured, etc. So there are problems with segmentation, feature extraction, classification. See this document. The text line extraction itself is a big challenge. How do you know which line is where? Then you need to identify each word in a line like this. So you segment the line boundaries, segment the word boundaries, and then from each word you somehow try to segment the characters and then to character to classifier, send to a classifier. Okay, so different ways are there. I'm not going there. Just showing some sample examples how you can extract different features. You can do different type of statistical features like zoning, directionality analysis, or you can use some structural features. This is really interesting. I give this example almost everywhere. See, this is the skeleton of the A, like the A written here. Not exactly for these texts. For example, someone wrote A, and this is the skeleton of the text. And we have some interesting structural features, maybe the crossing point, the end point, or maybe the loop. Think about the loop. Think about the handwritten or printed numeric digit patterns in English. And just think about this loop feature. English digits and the loop feature. How do you recognize how the structural features help in pattern recognition and machine learning? It will be easier for you to understand. How many digits have loop? You have 0, you have 6, you have 9, you have 8. I'm not including 4 because 4 sometimes they have loop, sometimes they do not have loop. So for sure you have loop in 0, loop in 6, loop in 9, and loop in 8. Count the number of loops. If you count the number of loops, you see that only one digit is having 2 loops, that is 8. So if you just write a program to detect loop, and if the number of loops in a digit is 2, then you know that it is 8, numeric 8. You have detected one loop and estimate the area of the loop. Area with the bounding rectangle, you have a ratio, And from the ratio, you can see very easily that in 0, the area of the loop is significantly higher than others. It is almost as big as the whole convex hull or the bounding rectangle. So 0 is having large area of the loop, and you can also detect a digit is identified by just the loop feature. Then again, you can estimate the center of gravity of the loop. Say, for example, center of gravity of the loop is in the upper half of the bounding rectangle of the character, then it is 9. If it is in the lower half, then it is 6. So, structural features also play a huge role. By just simply observing the feature like loop, you can classify the 4 digits 0, 6, 8, and 9 uniquely. So this is helpful. By just one feature you can extract. So there are many classifiers also can be used based on different features. You also have deep learning models these days, but in general you must also always have a basic understanding of the, you must have a clear understanding of the basics of machine learning. So many different classifiers are there, but just remember there is no single model fits all approach. One of my students was running some deep learning experiment. So he was directly applying a model. So I asked him, you are using the trained model, so from where did you get it? Just see the literature, from where did you get it? He told me he was applying in some bioinformatics problem, some protein-protein interaction classification. I asked him, from where did you get the ready model? You are trying to classify. You check the input data. So then he found that it was basically a face recognition problem. So a data network trained on face recognition problem will not apply on a different data. So my point of concern is that you understand the data and there is no such thing as a best classifier. The use of classifier depends on many factors, such as the availability of the training sets, number of free parameters, and especially the knowledge of the domain. Based on that, you must apply the classification model. I'm just skipping this slide. So this is the basics of artificial neurons. Then there are linear decision boundary. You can create in 2D as well as in 3D. Likewise, you can also have non-linear decision boundary in 2D and in 3D. And then I can quickly show you some interesting maybe text analytics means applications. So this is one of the applications I always show, which we did with Kolkata police. And if you drive in the Kolkata streets, you will see that the police is giving you challan. So if some of you are driving, unfortunately, if you encountered this, I encountered many times. I'm a poor driver, like I get caught for speeding and all. So the police stops me and they write the numbers in the challan book. So this challan book is actually designed in our laboratory in Jadavpur, and the objective is to automatically recognize those handwritten characters. So you can see that there are 4 markers. These are for registration. So if you fill up this sheet and give it to a flatbed scanner, then or in these days if you just scan it in the mobile, you must have seen that in application like cam scanner and all, you align the scanned page because there are perspective distortions. If you use flatbed scanner, the perspective distortion issue is less, but there are errors in feed, etc. Still, you need to register the image. You need to register the image at the four corners, and then you know key this is a pre-formatted form, so you identify the boxes, and within the boxes there are some isolated digits, characters are written, and you recognize them, and automatically we develop the backend digit recognition engine and character recognition engine for them, and it directly goes to the server. Someone checks for second time verification, because these are legal cases, because these directly fetches the driver details, and a case is formed. First mobile SMS is sent to the driver, and if the payment is not made within a stipulated date, it goes to either bank shall court or some court. It leads to a court case. So there has to be some second time check, but this significantly reduces manual entry. Although this particular system is not, it was originally implemented, but right now for different other non-technical reasons, this system is currently not in place. But I do not want to discuss this here. But in general, we developed this. There are also some systems we developed in. I worked with Hitachi, and then we developed a system where you can actually digitize whatever you write on a paper, and this is called a Anoto digital pen and paper technology. And see, this is really interesting because this is called information just in time. Whatever you write on a paper, that should be digitized and recognized. See, these days is a huge problem. My students ask me, sir, please send me your digital signature. I'll add it in my thesis. Or maybe I'm sending my digital signature to someone for adding in the document. So this is sometimes good, but sometimes it is really vulnerable, because think about a medico-legal situation that a doctor's signature is required on a patient's report, and the doctor is not present. There was a court case in Kolkata that a doctor got caught because he was actually vacationing in Nepal, and his visits were charged in a super specialty hospital in Kolkata during that time. So somehow they identified that during that period the doctor was actually in Nepal, and during that period his visits were charged by the hospital, and his signatures were maybe later entered and something was done. Using this type of systems, information just in time, this can be avoided. This can also be recognized, like whenever you are actually signing, the pen is having a camera, an ink cartridge, a memory, and a Bluetooth communication device, and whatever you are writing, that gets stored in the memory, and it gets transmitted and gets stored in the server. So the physical document and the signature gets connected, and we actually developed something on top of that, and tried to recognize even the signature, and some query retrieval system was developed with them. So in general, this is a very interesting application, and I had one PhD student working in this particular problem, where in Indian context, we instead of using Anoto pen, this is actually the pen is called Anoto digital pen and paper, a special kind of patented technology. This is very expensive in Indian context, so we switched to an eyeball device where you actually, whatever you write on the board, not using special paper but using ordinary paper, it gets digitized in the board, and then seamlessly you can actually write whatever you want, and everything gets digitized. Think about a doctor's prescription. Whenever you go to a doctor, usually you go to the doctor writes the prescription, and the prescription is given to you. Very rarely, in some cases, like I know one or two super specialty hospitals in Kolkata who keep a scanned copy of the prescription with them before handing over the prescription to the patient part for their own safety. Because now people are getting aware, there are a lot of forgery, there are a lot of international patients. So what happens if someone doctors with someone changes the prescription and marks, like instead of once daily, he writes twice daily, makes some additional comment in the prescription and goes to the court and says the doctor gave a wrong prescription. What about the doctor or the service provider? They are completely at the wrong side because they did not keep any information with them. So we developed this system in collaboration with a basically it is in a medical super specialty hospital. We developed this, and as you can see, like earlier also I said, like wards were segmented, and this prescription gets automatically digitized. And we were actually trying something extra as well. We were trying to map the drug names mapping we were trying to. So this type of applications also, this is the business card data. I'm just skipping this. Maybe I'll talk a bit on this vehicle license plate recognition. So this was also a project with Kolkata Police where we were trying to detect the vehicle number plates, and then number plates were detected and then recognized. See this example. This is the demo that we gave in Delhi, and you can see that the vehicle number plate was detected. The characters were segmented, and you can actually see the recognition, performance, localization, confidence. And with this, it goes into the, if someone approves this, then it goes to the server and fetches the details. So these types of application are typical cases where you do machine learning, pattern recognition, image processing, everything together. This is also one very old application that we did, but very much relevant even in today's time. That's why it's shown in many places where you can actually track the activities. Face tracking is available in many applications, in many OpenCV and many other libraries you can have, where we were actually trying to track the human faces in real time, and we were actually trying to populate the Excel sheet that at a single person face is detected, and then you can see that the second person comes, and then after some time you will see that again it will become single person, two person, and so on. So this type of face tracking applications we developed for a grocery, means basically a shopping mall, and you will see that there are items tagged in the shelves, and they wanted to know that how much footfall is there in every file. There is a channel and there are items distributed, so they wanted to have an even distribution of items across the shop floor. And if you can have a camera, and if you just you don't have to recognize the face, but if you can just do the counting, then you can have an idea, okay, in this particular region there were more people, this particular file there were less people, so that they can rearrange the products in a way so that the whole shop floor gets an even distribution of items. Okay. and all the complete area gets better utilized. So there are different types of applications there, and I'll just close with this particular application. I showed this particular image to you before, and this is basically person identification for finger vein biometric, and this is basically captured with really high quality near infrared cameras with IR flash, and finger veins are really unique, and this is called live biometric. So you cannot get finger, since this is actually detecting the heat pattern, you cannot get the finger vein image for a dead person. But fingerprint is really vulnerable. There are, in the high security applications, there were many cases that even the fingers can be cut, chopped off, and it can be used as a biometric. Sometimes people destroy their identity by burning fingers, by grafting vein-like patterns from other person's skins, or maybe from their uh, somewhere else. Also, there are huge advancements in material science, nanotechnology, and they can also prepare very high quality fingerprint molds so that you can actually get a copy of the fingerprints. Interestingly, many of the US prison data, in the US prison database uh, of the criminals database, they found that there was a report that around 5 to 10% of the criminals data fingerprints are actually forged. They are not correct because they either tend to destroy it. It's very easy process to lose identity, right? So if you go somewhere and in your passport, so what you give just 10 fingerprints. And if someone just it's very easy to lose your fingerprint, because you can just if you press your fingers on a hot surface, it's definitely very painful, but for a fugitive it can be a very good method to lose your identifying information, so no one would be able to catch him or her. So finger vein is a very unique biometric for high security applications. We developed this. We also developed some own database, and some good publication is also there. We also developed the physical data acquisition setup also in our lab. I think I have talked enough, so I'll stop here. I'll not go into machine learning in biology, so there are a lot of other stuff that we can discuss here. These are all images from neuronal image. These are the real neurons, not the artificial neurons, and segmentation of some the protrusions in neuronal spines, and their classification is also important. We do it actively. We also do some segmentation of bone vessel, means artery and bone segmentation in cerebral CT angiograms. These are some images of mathematical phantoms. These are from real human data. These are data from the US lab. Again, we do some artery vein segmentation for pulmonary CT angiograms. So these are also mathematical data. This is for the real data, but not from the human. This is a pig lung image and the 3D reconstruction. This is from the human lung, and we try to do artery and vein segmentation. This red and like orange and blue, this segmentation is important from the ISO intensity object like this. So I'm not going into the details. So let me go to the acknowledgement part, and my Indian collaborators, my supervisors, Professor Nashipuri and Professor Kundu, then they were my first PhD students and my departmental colleagues. and my PhD student Shatudal worked in that vehicle license plate recognition problem. We also have 2 US patents on that particular problem. Then Dr. Molla is from Alia University. He also worked in that. I didn't discuss explicitly. That is camera-based business card record recognition application. Dr. Piali Chatterjee is my long-standing collaborator, and we all worked with Professor Nashipuri and Professor Kundu. We work mainly with the bioinformatics problems. Dr. Pranay Dikshit, and she's from GIS, and she also worked on biomedical image analysis. And these are my ongoing PhD students. Anup actually got awarded, so I should have changed it. So Anup submitted already. And my international collaborators, Professor Poonam Saha and Eric, are from Iowa. Then Jakub, Dariush, and Jacek, they are from Poland, and Evgeny and Andre are from Germany, and Isabel is from France. So we are actively collaborating with them. And thank you. And I'm done from my side. So if you have any specific questions, you may ask. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. That was a great lecture. So it seems that we don't have any question at this time. So perhaps we can wait for a minute or two. So meanwhile, there's a question on my end. So you're a prominent researcher in the community. So what advice would you like to give based on your experience to the students who are new to research work?
See, there are many different aspects, and it's a very good question that for the undergrad students, like who are finishing their B.Tech in computer science or any CS related discipline, so or any discipline, I'll always say ki, do something where you can actually see. We are after all engineers, so we try to develop some solutions that relates to the society and real life problems. So identifying a specific problem and trying to design a solution to a problem is of utmost importance. So do not just take a problem from the book or some paper and start working on that. Try to find an application where you have a feel. Maybe you can just discuss with your seniors. I often find problems from many colleagues. Maybe one of my colleagues, they told me that they have some problems in the plants, and they need to detect certain diseases. Okay, so even in the plant leaves, can we detect a diseased leaf or something like that? And now you will see that there is an application coming up. There are a lot of mobile apps which detect diseases in plant leaves. If you take an image of a plant leaf, and it will say which type of disease is this. So try to design something which relates to a real application. So that will help you in understanding and means have a better understanding of the overall thing, and the solution will also be nice. One major part in, say, for example, advanced research, for example, say PhD, is finding the problem. It is 30% of the research. Where the problem is, that is important. You need to have an understanding of the problem. If you understand the problem, you can somehow devise a solution. But where there is a problem, and if you really can identify a problem, that solves a major part of your journey. It is true for everywhere. Even in undergrad, you can try to find smaller problems. In case of PhD and advanced studies, you can find bigger problems. But it is important, and problems can only be found if you connect to it. Okay. And problems are everywhere. You can find problems everywhere. And if you try to connect to the real life situation, then it will be meaningful. And whatever you do, that will make sense. I think this is my advice. So I always
Thank you.
say, like, more practical oriented
That's,
approach helps.
that's right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So it seems that there are no more questions from the audience. And well, the recording of the lecture will be available on this channel shortly. If you have any other questions, please feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn or reach out to him through his email ID. Aditya, could you drop them in the comment section below? Okay, so now I would like to warmly welcome Dr. Rajdeep Chakraborty, Professor on the Department of Computer Science and Engineering and Faculty Advisor of IEEE Computer Society Student Branch Chapter of Netaji Subhash Engineering College. And I would also like to welcome Ovik Banerjee, Chair of IEEE Computer Society Student Branch Chapter of our college, to conduct a brief discussion on IEEE Computer Society along with Professor Subhadip Basu.
Thank you, Hominti.
Thank you,
Sir,
Hemati.
can
Good,
you tell
good
us
evening, sir.
about IEEE Computer Society SBC student branch and why it is important for students to join?
Okay, so I take this opportunity to invite actually all the listeners and all, like, to join to the IEEE Society. I am the chair of the computer chapter of IEEE Kolkata section, and I would also request not just the IEEE as a whole. I request people to join IEEE CS Computer Society, and there are several benefits of IEEE, and especially for the students. I can see that Avik is very active IEEE CS Student Branch Chapter Chair, and Dr. Rajdeep is the SBC Student Branch Chapter Advisor, and you can very well support my narrative that if you engage yourself in certain IEEE activities, that will, number one, give you a huge benefit or huge confidence boost in terms of the leadership qualities. Okay. And number two is the quality technical association. Okay. So I can only tell that in not just in Jadavpur, in Kolkata, and even in other parts of India, like for example in IEEE Bangalore section, IEEE Kerala section, IEEE Hyderabad section, they are also organizing big events through the student chapters, because students are the major, like the building blocks of this IEEE organization. So IEEE activities depend heavily on participation of the student, as well as now these days they are depending heavily on the organizational aspect of the students. Like the students can always organize events in a much they have the best energy, and they also have the technical knowledge and enthusiasm. So the events organized by the students always have the best participation, and it gives a overall a fantastic, the objective of the IEEE is dissemination of science. So you can actually communicate, the reach is the maximum when it is done through the students. So IEEE focuses on student activity committees. All the chapters and the sections are evaluated based on the activities of their respective student branch chapters. So this is the main vision of IEEE. And in general, there is a huge benefit from the student sides as well. There's a huge benefit from the student sides as well. So students associating with the IEEE umbrella, you get a hierarchical mentorship. So you get a good association, you can take up leadership roles, you can directly talk to the hierarchy in a direct fashion. Like you can not only reach us, you can not only reach hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir, it's audible now.
So there are benefits at multiple levels. So students can directly reach to the president of IEEE. I can mention an event organized by IEM student branch, and they invited the IEEE president Susan Land. So students have full access, and it is a huge thing. So I think summarizing, if you can say it in 2 words, so I can tell you key quality association and the leadership opportunities. So these are the main aspects.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And Avik, I think you have a question about young IEEE young.
Yes. So once again, thank you, sir, for that fantastic session. Also, your words about the functioning of our community, it really motivates us. I believe I am speaking on behalf of everyone who is attending this, that we have really thoroughly enjoyed your talk. Uh, Now, piggybacking on that, your talk was on applications of machine learning, right? You gave a few gem of advices, I would say, like clearing the fundamentals and then finding out the research problems, or rather application problems from real life. Now, at least within the peer groups that I have been in, I have seen this apparent, what should I say, thought that IEEE is only geared towards research. However, being associated with IEEE and Computer Society, I know that it's not the case, right? It is also providing opportunities for students who want to go into industry as well, uh, along with opportunities for students who are graduating. So, sir, if you would please be kind enough to elaborate on that.
See, IEEE is an engineers association. Okay, and an engineer is, they have two aspects. One is definitely in the research, and engineering research is not just teaching. Engineering research, in if you think about the quality industries, the best positions or the best jobs that a student can get is in the R&D team of an industry. So today itself, we have a lecture from one of our past students. So who passed out from Jadavpur and joined Carnegie Mellon for masters, and now he is in Amazon, and he is a scientist, research scientist. Okay, so what do you mean by a job? A job is not like only the service sector job. A job is the true quality jobs are the jobs in industrial research, the best job, and you do all the who are working with the patents. IBM files most of the patents. Intel files most of the patents. So who are the innovators? Innovation comes from the industry only. So when you want to succeed, there are three aspects. So this is from one of my uh, he's not my supervisor. I call him my guru actually, from US lab, that is Professor Poonam Saha. He is also an alumnus of Jadavpur Computer Science. He is a very renowned scientist in medical image processing. He says that there are only three aspects important in one's life. That is quality health, quality mind, and quality association. Okay, so the third part is quality association. So it is important, like with whom you are associated with. The same thing few days back, Elon Musk said that it defines your journey, that with whom you are associated with. So association is important. With whom you are associated, who are your friends, with whom you are taking advice. So IEEE gives you that platform. So you get associated with the right people with the right mindset. Okay, it really does not matter whether you are going into industry or in academia or what type of research. It only matters that what are your association, what you are actually doing in real life. Even in industry, you may do nothing, or even in academia, you can do fantastic innovation. Okay, so when you grow up, so the divisions slowly blur out. Okay, so the main thing is the mindset. And why IEEE? If you start nurturing that quality mindset from the early stage of your career, it really helps. It's not that when you join the industry, then you will develop that. No, it's not like that. Good students, they start thinking about their respective careers from early in the first year, second year itself. So if you second year, if you get into a good association, get into organizing good things, get in touch with the people in the best positions, both in academia as well as in industry, then it will definitely give them good benefits, and it will give them good connections. Okay, so and about computer society, so computer society is all about industry. Most of the members of CS are from industry only. CS in Kolkata section got best sections with highest number of industry members for several years. We have our execom members from TCS and all, so that gives you association, right? So you know people who are in the big positions in industry. You talk with them, you learn from them. Just by speaking with someone, it's such an influential stuff. When at my early days of my PhD, I talked with a very senior scientist from Hitachi in only my second conference presentation, and that after the talk, I just approached him and said few words and collected his card. And those few words of advice kind of changed my career. I kept in touch with him. He also advised me several things. He offered me a wonderful fellowship. I visited Hitachi, learned so many things. So you learn to be proactive. So association makes a huge difference. So with whom you are associated with, so that is extremely vital, especially for a student, because you are trying to grow. So I'd always request you to join IEEE student branch. It is, I think, $11 is for IEEE student branch membership, and you add additional $4 to it, and it becomes IEEE CS member. So, as the chair, I take this responsibility to invite you all to the IEEE CS, and I think it will be a wonderful opportunity to work with all the student CS members, even if it is, I know it is also a CIS event, so I also happen to be a CIS member as well. So anything is fine. So we work hand in hand. And you talked about young professional also. So final year students, when they graduate, join an industry, and you have to like renew, not as a student but as a full member, right? When you become a full member, you automatically become a young professional. And for the young professionals, there is no additional fee. It is a zero fee. You just subscribe to that as a young professional membership. And there is a this is called young professionals affinity group. There are two different affinity groups. One is for the young professionals, another is for women. I am sure that there are many women listeners. Like, this is called Women in Engineering, WIE. This is also free, and this is also very interesting affinity group. In Kolkata section, we have a very vibrant uh, Women in Engineering affinity group, and our current section chair is also, like, she is Professor Shushmita Mitra, is also very renowned scientist, a globally renowned name. And young professionals affinity group is also very good. I'm also an advisor to that group as well. So overall, IEEE association wise is a wonderful opportunity for the students. I can only say that much, that you can join it and have a feel of the organization, and you can do wonderful stuff.
Sir, though you are from computer science, CS Society, so can you tell us about something about CIS Society, Computer Intelligence Society?
Yes, of course. As I said, I was also a member of the CIS at times. So CIS and CS, they both of them go hand in hand. Okay, so uh, it's all about, like being associated with a group and doing something good. Okay, so as such, there is no specific difference. CIS is more, computational intelligence is a more focused area. CS is a more broader discipline. And if people are really working actively in CIS domain and want to pursue their career in CIS, they can always do fantastic stuff with CIS membership. And as I said, like, since I'm currently leading the CS chapter in Kolkata, so I say ki we have very good, connections with the CIS. Many of our members are both CS and CIS members. So many of the events we organize together. Okay, so it is an individual's choice how or where you register or what. As such, there is no difference except that CIS is more specific group, skill set wise, more specific skill set, and CS is a more generic skill set. So it is absolutely fine in whatever way. Do it CS or CIS. Do some good activity and organize nice events. So that is the most important part. Everything goes to the IEEE banner. So absolutely fine.
Okay, Alex, do you have any further questions?
I guess not at this moment. Sir has answered my questions. Uh, if it's all right, I guess we can conclude this event at this time.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, sure.
Hemanti?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, sir. And that was indeed a great discussion. So, before we end, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet and follow us on our social handles. The link to our Facebook and LinkedIn pages will be provided in the comment section below. Apart from this, we are bringing forth to you a feedback form. This form will be active till the next hour. Please go ahead and fill it. This would be of great help for us. Well, this marks the end of today's session. On behalf of everyone, I would like to thank Professor Subhadip Basu again for taking time out and being here today. Thank you so much, sir. And it was a great learning experience. And for everyone else, thank you for supporting us by joining in. These are trying times, and we wish our audience that they observe safety and follow all social distancing norms. So, for our next webinar on 24th April, Saturday, we will be having Somav Das from Red Hat Pune. He's a data scientist, and it will be a final lecture of the series on Machine Learning Connect, Industry and Academia. Until then, stay safe and goodbye. We hope to see you again next time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.